Hello, you're listening to Hugo Talks, and what emergency is lined up today in the fake stream media? Oh, it's a banking emergency. Here we see Bank of England launches emergency intervention in markets after Kwarteng mini budget. Bank of England takes urgent steps to buy long-dated UK government bonds. Oh no! And nobody knows where the new puppet tyrant and Tory ministers have gone. They must be hiding in the cupboard.
No idea. We've no idea where Liz Truss is. We've no idea where the Chancellor is. Tory MPs are hiding, and every news organisation is trying to get ministers to come on and talk about the chaos that's reigning. So the fact that they're hiding is a really bad thing.
So yeah, you get the drift. It's all a big drama, propaganda, fear. Again, this is all part of the controlled demolition. I mean, don't get me wrong, if they put up the interest rates, it's going to have consequences, and I'm sure that it's going to crash, but it's going to be a controlled crash. This has been ongoing for a while, specifically since the lockdowns, the closing of businesses in the lockdown, either putting them out of business or getting them into debt. An attack on small and medium-sized independent businesses is a controlled demolition in order to make people default on their debts and make them dependent on the system so they can attempt to bring in a new system, a new world order, a cashless system, a digital blockchain system, a 24/7 tracking and monitoring you system through their devices, like I've said before many times. What you're going to see here is going to be a controlled crash. To what extent, I don't know. People defaulting probably on their mortgages, all kinds of financial problems. And then someone will ride in on a white charger with a rescue package, UBI, maybe a digital currency, and an app that you will have to use. That's the idea. That's the plan. That's the reset in order to enslave the public. This is looking like that to me anyway. But again, you know, much of what you're hearing, the interest rates might go up to 6%. These are all estimations to make people worry. Fear propaganda, just like they've been doing constantly for the last 2.5 years. And of course, we get the dramatic announcements like this one this morning.
We've just heard from the Bank of England just now, Jane, with a rather extraordinary statement saying that they are planning a gilt market operation, which is an intervention from the Bank of England, they say, to try to restore orderly market conditions. Let me just read out part of this statement.
Look at his face. Look at those eyes. Do you think he's laying it on a bit thick? The drama. Tell you what, it's lucky this emergency didn't happen a couple of weeks ago, you know, when the Queen died and the people were queuing up to worship the false idol and the fake stream media were talking non-stop about the death and the mourning 24/7. Lucky this emergency, it didn't happen back then. They would have had to put this in the news, wouldn't they? And break that blanket coverage of the Queen's death. Now, of course that didn't happen. It's all about timing, isn't it? Amazing how these emergencies all line up one after the other and never happen at the same time. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? It makes you wonder, maybe there is some form of schedule here to these announcements. It says here the Bank of England are buying long-dated government UK bonds to stabilise the market. Apparently these bonds are called gilts and they represent debt issued by the government and sold to investors to support spending. And the Bank of England are buying this to stabilise the government. Well, you know, they could say they are going to go and stroke a unicorn to stabilise the markets. I could care less. It's a controlled demolition. Here's a clip to show as an example. Look, when you see a news item like this that have contrived footage, deliberately created footage to provide a false image, then you know you're looking at something that is being manufactured, which is pretty much every news clip you see these days. Check the start of this.
What started as a currency crisis in the city is having a direct bearing on the lives of households around the country. Their hopes for prosperity, for home ownership, now under threat. For Rebecca, higher interest rates are another obstacle to owning a home.
So you see Rebecca there. So this fake stream media platform, they go and find this random woman, go to her house with their film crew, say, Rebecca, look down and look sad, will you? And they do a nice pan shot at the start. Yes, yes, yes. Then Rebecca, look mournfully at the houses for sale on your Black Mirror scrying device, will you? Yes, this is contrived, is it not?
You've got all the houses prices that have soared. You've then almost got a chance, but everything goes to auction. You've got a lot of products that came onto the market originally, but now they've all been taken off the market. There just seems to be so many hurdles. And for me personally, it just feels like a never-ending battle.
Now, if this person is for real, from what she knows, the best outcome for her, if she wants to buy a house, is not to buy a house now, when the prices are ridiculously high, artificially high prices stimulated by a corrupt system in order to get people into a lifetime of debt. No, now is not the time to be getting a mortgage. What would actually benefit her position would be a crash. I mean, the way a crash usually works, interest rates go up, people default on mortgages and debt, loads more houses then eventually go up for sale. Because of that, the price of houses fall, and then she might be in a better position. But no, she's sad and mournful, scrolling through all the insanely overpriced houses, and sad because the mortgage deals are being taken away, so she can't get herself into a lifetime of debt and become a slave to the system. Oh dear, oh dear.
The Bank of England's chief economist signalling today that it will do what investors expect and lift the cost of borrowing. And to add to the government's difficulties, after markets closed, the International Monetary Fund issued a rare statement, deploying language it typically uses to describe emerging economies. We are closely monitoring recent economic developments in the UK and are engaged with the authorities. We do not recommend large and untargeted fiscal packages at this juncture, as it is important that fiscal policy does not work at cross purposes to monetary policy. Furthermore, the nature of the UK measures will likely increase inequality.
Now, you notice the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, are making announcements in regards to this. Now, who are the International Monetary Fund, the IMF? Well, they are the United Nations, just like the World Health Organization are the United Nations. So basically what you have here is the United Nations under the guise of the IMF saying we are unsure of what the UK are doing. We don't recommend this and we don't recommend that, because when the whole thing turns into a mess and people are defaulting on their mortgages, guess who's going to be turning up with the rescue package? That will be the United Nations, the IMF, the same United Nations who has the meditation room in the central building dedicated to the God of many names, which is run by the Lucis Trust, formerly called Lucifer Publishing, who worship Lucifer and are the spiritual foundation of the United Nations. That United Nations. And that is the one world government, the one world currency, all of that shebang, New World Order. That's why they are coming in and getting talked about now in the fake stream media, so the public can see them making suggestions, recommending stuff now before the crash happens, so afterwards they can say, oh well, look, maybe they were right, maybe we need their help. And then of course we had a few weeks back, Pope Francis instructs Vatican entities to move all funds to Vatican Bank by September the 30th. So they want all of their money back into their bank. Does that mean from that date things are financially going to be or start to be demolished? People say the Vatican has 30 billion. I reckon they have trillions. They don't tell you how much they have, because if they did, then they probably wouldn't get as many donations. You know what I mean? Now, the Knights of Malta, the Freemasonic Order of the Vatican, these Knights of Malta, it's a state, apparently it's a state inside the Vatican. Another name for them is the Sovereign Military Order of Malta. They have this symbol. You saw that symbol all over the place at the Queen's funeral recently, if you were watching it. This is the one they are all linked to. If you are part of this Peekaboo Club, you get your own passport. They issue their own passports, and you have international diplomatic immunity, yeah? You wonder why these high-up people don't get arrested. It says here The order is often considered a sovereign entity of international law as it maintains diplomatic relations with many countries. The order maintains diplomatic relations with 112 states, enters into treaties and issues its own passports, coins and postage stamps. Its two headquarters building in Rome enjoy extraterritoriality. And more interestingly, it says here, it has had permanent observer status at the United Nations General Assembly since 1994. So obviously, the Vatican Bank knows what is going down at the United Nations. So is that something to do with the decision to get money into their Vatican Bank? Who is zooming who? I mean, even the Rothschilds are connected to it. Here is a painting of Amschel Mayer Rothschild with him proudly displaying his Knights of Malta trinket. So yeah, I want to look into this some more. So leave your comments, if you can leave them on the website at hugotalks.com as well as here. That would be helpful, as maybe I'll do a video where I feature your comments on this particular subject. Okay, as always, thanks for listening, comment, subscribe to hugotalks.com, and I'll see you later.